This is for the person who knows they are in the top 1%. You might not know exactly how to get there, but there's this deep fire inside of you telling you you want to get ahead of 99% of people around you. And how I know this is because I was the exact same way. So in this video, I'm going to share exactly what I did to get ahead of 99% of people in my 20s. And before I get into it, I want to say when I was in my early 20s, I'm 28 years old now, I always saw people around me just waiting. Like they're waiting for the perfect time. They're waiting for an opportunity to come by. They were waiting until they weren't afraid anymore to take action. And I'm like, why is everybody just waiting around and wasting their life? Like right then and there, I made a decision to myself, telling myself that I am not waiting. I'm going to make a commitment to actually changing my life because I know my destiny, my future is not going to be in the hands of somebody else. And we just know it is not about luck. It is not about a miracle. It is about being aligned and taking action and getting what you actually want. And the first thing that I did is exactly what I just shared with you guys. Like I decided, I committed that I am going to be ahead of 99% of people in my 20s, and not even in my 20s, just all around me. I wanted to be the individual that didn't just dream the reality she wanted. I wanted to be that person who was actually living it. And with this, it's not just writing down, I want to change my life, or I want to make X amount of money, or I want to lose weight, or I want to find the love of my life. It's not enough to just write it down on a piece of paper, maybe look at it every so often. When it comes to committing and actually deciding, there is no turning back. There is no looking at your old identity. There is no more entertaining the old fears and the old stories that you may have been telling yourself up until today. So when I decided I committed, I let go of a lot of those things. And how I did this was basically writing down all of the things that I was about to claim to myself, that I was about to do, that I was about to live and actually experience in my life. So that way it became more real, right? But instead of just once again, just writing it down, step number 2 is what actually solidified my commitment and my decision. And step number 2 is I created and I actually changed my identity. Okay, so who I was back then was somebody who was basically not able to attract my dream life. I did not have the habits, I did not have the personality, I didn't have the commitment, I didn't have the action. I had all of the doubts, all of the fears, all the reasons why I couldn't do it. So same thing, I took a sheet of paper out and I wrote down all of the old beliefs that I didn't want anymore. I wrote down all of the habits that were actually in the way of me achieving my dream life. I wrote down all of the fears that were actually not even real and reshifted them for them to actually work for me. And one of my biggest fears back then was, what if I try but then I fail? What if it actually doesn't work the way I want it to? And how I reframed that was, if you try and it actually doesn't work, you're just going to get even closer to your dream life versus sitting here and not even trying at all. So for me, I'm like, okay, I know my dream life is not just going to be given to me. I actually have to work towards it. So for me, it wasn't even about what if I try and if I fail. It was more about every single time I take action, I'm inching closer to it. And let me tell you, this amount of delusion and this amount of commitment and this amount of certainty actually allowed me to change my life, okay? And later in the video, I'm going to share, a little bit more about what that looked like. But in short, like I built a multi-6-figure business. I moved to sunny Florida when I used to live at my dad's house back in Iowa. I am now officially engaged to the love of my life when I was heartbroken from like a guy that we don't even need to talk about, okay? But changing my identity and becoming this new version of myself really allowed me to get ahead of so many people because once again, I was no longer operating from my old self and from my own beliefs. And this led me to step number 3, which is reprogramming my mind. Now, when you know exactly who you want to be, you wrote down your identity, you wrote down your values, your beliefs, the actions that you take, the perception that you have, I was going to say belief again because that is so important, but when you write that down, you actually need to reprogram your mind to believe everything you wrote down is who you are right now. So a few ways I did this is, number one, meditating. When you quiet your mind, it gives you the opportunity to get clear and actually envision yourself in your new life. So I did this every single morning, and I still do it to this day, where I would spend at least like 10 to 20 minutes getting into a meditative state. I would maybe just listen to like a YouTube video, music in the background, and I would get clear, so still, to a point where I just started to see my new life. I would see myself taking action. I would see myself in full confidence. I would see myself in full certainty, and I would see myself getting what I wanted. And I did this every single day for months, to a point where when I actually went and took that action later on that day, there was no fear anymore. There was no doubt. There was no whether or not it's going to work, because it was just as if I had already been living and experiencing it. And this is how quickly you can actually change your life, because when you reprogram your mind, once again, your subconscious does not know the difference between something that's real and vividly imagined. So if you repeat it in your mind consistently every single day, it will get to a point where your new identity, it is you. There is no disconnect anymore. So after you decide, after you change your identity, write a new one down, after you reprogram your mind, the fourth thing you want to do is actually set attainable goals that you know for a fact you can reach. Now, I know sometimes people are going to say, no, you need to set big, realistic goals. And trust me, I do that all the time too. But in this stage where you're trying to get ahead of 99% of people, you're trying to really live this new life, you're trying to be this new person, you need to build up your confidence, right? So if you write down a big, outrageous goal and you don't actually hit that goal, you might take a hit for yourself. You might lose a little bit of confidence because you didn't actually reach it, right? So what I did was I set really small, attainable goals, even just daily goals of making my bed and going to work out, because those were small wins. And in my head, I was rewarding myself every single time I hit one of my goals. I would be like, yes, you made your bed, check off, confidence build. Number 2, you made a post on social media, check off, even more confidence built. And over time, I would set like bigger and more attainable goals, like making an additional $1,000 a month, maybe $2,000 a month. Maybe it's getting like a speaking engagement. Maybe it was talking to someone specific. And over time, my confidence just went like this, because once again, when I first started, my confidence was over here. I didn't have any confidence, right? So for you to actually, once again, be in the top percent, get ahead of so many people, you actually need to have the confidence, the delusion, the certainty that you can actually do it, right? But that's not going to happen if you set like the goal of making $1 million right away, or losing like 50 pounds when you haven't even lost a single pound in your life. So set attainable goals. I will tell you, this is one of the most important things in this entire video, because when you set goals and when you actually once again reach them every single day, you're going to feel excited to wake up in the morning and take action, right? Because every single day you are reaching a goal. So start writing down small goals that you can start to hit on a daily and on a weekly basis. Now, number 5, last but not least, in this video, which basically ties together everything that I've been talking about, for like the past almost 10 minutes, which is I took action without knowing how. This is basically imperfect action, guys. The thing is, millionaires, billionaires, people that are literally just living the best life that they possibly can imagine, they did not get there because they knew every single step in how to get there. They got there because they just took action. They took action based on what they felt was aligned in that moment. And this is the difference. You can sit there and you can overthink, what is the perfect action I need to take? Or you can just take action and then figure it out on the way. I did not know how to build a business. I did not know how to build a brand. I did not know how to record YouTube videos. I did not know how to change my life, but I figured it out. Right? I started maybe by watching a YouTube video, maybe reading a book, maybe just feeling what was aligned to me in that moment, and just started to take action. So for an example, for me, I knew I wanted to build an online business. I knew I wanted to have a brand. So I also knew I needed to create content. Years ago, I did not know anything about content creation, right? But every single day I would just post, even if it was a quote, even if it was really, really bad, and no one commented, no one engaged, I started by making a post. And day after day, guess what happened? I learned, I got better, right? I got feedback. And now I can make a post and hundreds of people will see it, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people will see it. But that wouldn't have happened if I never actually took the action. And if you guys want to know a secret, you can figure out the how. That's why we have YouTube. That's why we have coaches, mentorships, memberships, things that you can join and actually learn. That's why people go to college, right? And get education to learn and figure out how. But let me tell you, 99% of people also do know what to do, but they just don't do it because they overthink, right? So that is why you don't want to fall into the trap of overthinking every single thing that you're doing. So make sure when you are writing out your new identity, you write down, I take fast action without overthinking the how, because this will also be a very important piece on how you're going to get ahead of 99% of people. And if you want to learn exactly what I did to brainwash my mind in making $100,000 in year one of my business, make sure to watch this video. That's all for today. I love you guys so much. Don't forget to subscribe because we're on the journey of reaching 100,000 subscribers. And until next time, make sure that you stay unforgettable.